What's up, everybody? Aaron the Dog here with Fight Bananas with a very special Tuesday night interview with UFC Contender now. Jimmy the Brick Flick. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. For those who aren't familiar, Jimmy was, I think, my first or second fight interview, and I interviewed right before your fight with Nate Smith to get on the Contender series, where you had 16 submission attempts. 16th was a charm. It was the best fight of the year in the Contender series, no doubt, in my mind. And then you finished out the year with submission of the year in my mind. You flying triangled Cody Durden. We're gonna start kind of from the beginning and work up to the triangle here. What have these last 3 to 4 months been like for you?
Oh, man, it's been crazy. It's been a dream come true, and it's just been unpredictable too. With the pandemic,
Yeah.
can't really predict the 2020 year. It went amazing for me, not for so many people, and I'm grateful for it, man. I never thought I would make it to the UFC with no fans, and fought 3 times with no fans, in 2020. So it's been crazy.
Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed it, and it's been a dream come true, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, and you had to get ready for the Cody Durden fight twice, and made weight twice. And the first time after the fight was called due to Cody Durden's pink eye, which that was definitely an interesting occurrence. But I don't pay attention to a ton of social media, but you were on social media. You were running that night. It was like you were going back to work like that night, staying ready. And it's just not a surprise talking to you. I think it is what makes you truly a contender. Amongst all your other skills is that work ethic to go along with it. What was your mindset as you got ready for your UFC debut against Durden that was called off after making weight, after being just facing off with him twice, being fully ready to get in there? What were those moments like?
Man, the first time it was awesome, man. It went great. The weight cut was good. The training was awesome and everything, and we were ready. Turned out, like you said, he had pink eye, and there was nothing we could do about it. And when they told us that, 20 minutes before I got on the bus, is when they told us that the fight was canceled, man.
So
And
crazy. You find out when we find out, basically.
yeah, literally, a little before, but not much.
Yeah, right.
And then, all of a sudden, they started announcing all kinds of fights that were canceled, and it was it was crazy. And then, immediately, they want to know, you want to fight in 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, no.
Yes.
I put on 20 pounds after weigh-ins,
Right.
So I got to cut 20 pounds again, So we sat there and we discussed it for a little bit, decided what we were going to do, and we decided we wanted to do it again. And we wanted Cody Durden to have a tough cut too, so we decided not to do a catch weight or anything and fight at 125 again. And I knew I could make it, so that's what we did. And like you said, that night I was back to training, and then the next morning I couldn't sleep, so I woke up and ran a couple miles and got on the plane, flew back home, had a good dinner, and it was back to training the next day.
I mean, that's just, I love the mental game there of, you are a flyweight fighter. You are 100% a 125 fighter at this point. And at 125, you are a different beast. It shows in your record. And I mean, after that Ray Rodriguez loss 4 or 5 fights ago, it's been this unbelievably entertaining, nonstop finishing flyweight machine, man. I mean, and it's just after these guys are done fighting you, they're not getting into fights again really quick. They're going and retooling their entire game. Greg Fisher has not fought again. Nate Smith has not fought again. Nate Smith was supposed to fight again. He said, hold on, let me retool some stuff, because his face after you were done with him, man, he was just laying there and not sure what had happened. I mean, you were That fight was unbelievable. If you have not watched that fight, get Fight Pass, watch the Contender Series fight. Just type in Jimmy Flick. You're going to have nonstop like entertainment, man. And the thing that I have noticed with you also is that you become quite the kind of, you're starting to threaten my breakdown game, Jimmy. I'm starting to see your picks and you're accurate as hell, man. Like what's going on? Have you like always been into like top to bottom the fights? Is that something you've gotten more into now? How can you explain kind of, because you've been on fire so far in 2021, which has been a hard year to break down and predict fights in. It's been crazy for a lot of us. So like, is that a new kind of passion of yours, or have you always been a fan of the sport on top of it?
Oh no, 100%, man. I've always been a fan, man. I've loved it, and I've always done my own thing called flick picks. Where
Yep.
I tag flick picks and do my own picks, and I mean shit. Like sometimes I'll go for like 3 for 12, 4 for 12. I mean,
Been there.
I nights like last week I got most of the main card wrong,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to sleep on Frankie Edgar. Sometimes I make my picks based on just fighters that I've always loved. I might not think they can really win the fight, but I'm not giving up hope.
Yeah, you gotta go with the heart, man. I understand. Sometimes my heart really gets in the way too. I obviously do I obviously do the breakdown show every Thursday night at 8 p.m. here on Fight Bananas, and I've been having fighters join me. Mike Beast Boy Davis has joined me this Thursday night for the card, so he has had hand surgery actually, I think today. So hopefully he's doing well from that, but I think he's recovering. But yeah, he's going to be joining me on Thursday. Hopefully not too medicated up, but either way, we'll make it through it. But I'd love to obviously have you on at some point to talk a fight card or two coming up here down the line. But we'll talk about that, of course. But the other part I found interesting is that from a betting perspective, with the Cody Durden fight, the odds got closer after 2 weeks. You were more of a favorite going into the first one than the second one, and you almost became an underdog with the two close weight cuts and it being the same fight and him being the one with pink eye. I was just all sorts of confused at what the public was putting money on Cody Durden for the second fight, so I doubled down on you. And I was just like, this is just from a betting perspective, it doesn't make sense to me. I didn't need to even talk to you to know that the 125 part was part of the decision on your end. And I just think that, again, you're a veteran coming in here. This is the difference between we saw with Youssef Zalal last week, 23 years old, getting in here from the LFA pretty quickly, not really facing a lot of adversity, now facing it in the UFC in real time and having a little bit of trouble now after the initial, and he's 23, he's not 31, 32 years old. There's, and like I heard the kids in the background a little bit ago, that's just that extra motivation that you can't really put a level on. I talked with Brian Battle last week, who still trains with his team, in Charlotte. You're still out in Oklahoma training with the same boys you've been with from the start. I think that is just something that during these unpredictable times, having that predictability or at least a semblance of that is huge. Your team, how has that changed as you've entered the UFC? Have you evolved it, or is it kind of just stick to improving the aspects you're getting in with who got you here?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Everybody keeps asking me, where are you moving? Are you going to somewhere? Are you going to join another
Didn't
team?
ask that. I asked about the team.
But I was like, shit, y'all, I didn't win $1 million, It's not
exactly.
Pack up and move my whole family across the country. And no, I don't plan on going nowhere. I'm 30 years old. I'm born and raised here in Oklahoma. I live out in the boonies. I live out in the country. I own my own house. I own my own land. I'm pretty stable,
You're happy.
Me and my wife are good. We've made good choices, and I just want to chase my dream of trying to become the UFC champion. It was always, to make it to the UFC and make that walk, and now I've done that, and now it's on the next one, and that's
speaking of which.
Get the belt.
Speaking of which, I don't see a fight announced for Jimmy Flick right now. And you look pretty healthy to me. You look like you're back in there getting active, staying ready. Who's on the radar for Jimmy Flick at this point?
All of them, man. All of
Hmm.
them are on the radar. Like I said, it's up to the UFC. There's multiple things the UFC can do with me at 1-0. They
Hmm.
can, they can book me with somebody they want to send out. Maybe somebody that's 1-2, 1-3, 0-2, 0-3. Somebody that needs to take another loss to get sent out of the UFC and to build me up. Or they could give me, one of the guys that are 2-0. I like Albazi.
Yeah.
Al ranked in the top 15. He's 2-0. He's a good grappler. His stand up looked good in his last fight. Uh, I know there's Figueroa's brother, the
Yep.
brother. Wouldn't mind fighting the champ's brother on my way to the champ,
It's a good way to get the champ on your radar. You beat his
So,
brother. He's not going to be a big fan of Jimmy Flick, and we don't need him to be a fan of you. We just need him to fight you.
I mean,
I
if we
like it.
up story to that, that's perfect, So
Man,
it's
well, after, yeah.
So I've let them know that I want it all. So I
Mhm.
know that they told us they're booking some dates, and then hopefully they'll be contacting us to book some fights soon. So we've been training, staying healthy, and just waiting to see what's next and what opportunity we get with the UFC in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, they fans have to be ready to be seeing more of you. If they're not familiar at this point, I don't know what more you have to do after these first couple of performances, but they will one way or another. And I just, the focus and the adversity leading up to coming into the UFC is all adding on to the success you're having now. I just think that these are X factors that are what make you truly a different fighter. And with the featherweight division, it's I think the most exciting division right now in the sport. We just saw last weekend, Pantoja continues to show that he's still a very, very real contender. Got a lot of people doubting him. And with, Kape, Kape is a fight that I think if he's healthy and ready to go again, I would love to see that fight for you personally, because I think that he was in a position that was very elevated coming 2 years layoff and having a loss to Alta Sakai within the last, few fights and things like that. I just think he got a very, very good opportunity in his UFC debut. And
Oh,
yeah, it's just, I think that would be a very fair fight for you to have the opportunity to have and get the shine that he was getting, frankly. Um, sorry. But the next question I actually have is, regarding the fight coming up this weekend. We've got Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. They've been training together for 200 plus rounds. Like, they've been together a long time. Gilbert Burns also, while he seems like a, kind of the young up and coming contender here, Gilbert Burns is 34 years old. Like, I don't think people quite realize that about Gilbert Burns, but he's been around in combat sports for a while. He's, so I think that this is a really interesting fight. What are your thoughts on kind of two guys who are very familiar with each other fighting in a elevated championship fight, and what are your thoughts on this matchup specifically?
yeah, man. It's actually tough and it's hard to decide because, like you said, they grappled and they've trained so many rounds together. Now, like, we don't know is like, was Gilbert able to submit him when they were grappling all the time? Was Usman able to, control him and not get submitted? Were they doing MMA when they were doing it? And, there's like so many pros and cons to know in that situation that
Yeah.
they do know, and
Hmm.
they kind of personally have their own feeling on how they feel in those positions and where they feel comfortable. And I think it's gonna be a great fight. But I feel like Usman is one of the best technical fighters in the sport, and he'll do what he has to do to win by decision and not be exciting if he don't have to be. And the others, Gilbert, he will try to be very exciting. He'll
Hmm.
blow quad. He'll use all of his energy to do anything he can to
Yeah.
be exciting or get that submission. And I feel like Usman's going to be able to grind out the decision with that being the factor.
Yeah, and I that's where I'm kind of leaning, and I'll get more into it on Thursday with Mike a little bit. Mike has trained with with Gilbert, so that will be some good information to talk with him about. But yeah, I'm leaning kind of the same way, and like I guess that leads me into that was kind of be how I wrapped up. But I'm curious, how do you not blow your wad in the first round and continue to just chain together attacks the way you do? What makes your kind of like, how do you, because if I just couldn't see Gilbert Burns doing what you did for 3 rounds against like a Nate Smith. Like it's just, is it that you're just technically using like what makes your kind of blitz style able to go for three rounds this long? And I'll let you go after this, because I know that you got plenty at home that you got to take care of. But I'm just like, oh, you got the dog, Aaron the dog. I got Chico's upstairs. Who's that?
She was all frustrated. She just jumped out of her cage.
Hey, dogs are always allowed here. But how are you able to keep that level? Is it just flyweight's built different? Like, what is that an impossible question for me? I'm asking here. I mean, I've not seen any fighter do it quite like you.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain, because like in some other fights, I gassed out trying to get submissions, but most likely most of the time that's been at 135 when I fight stronger guys like Ray Rodriguez, Chris Gutierrez, those guys like that. I've kind of wore myself out going for submissions. At the 125, I just feel strong. I feel good. And I've been using, ever since I've been fighting in Las Vegas, I've been using the Bosch Rutan 2.0 training mask. And if you fighters out there, if you ain't used this mask, it's a lot better than your elevation training mask. And it's a lot better for the insides in your body on getting the breathing that you need to. And when I fought Nate Smith, that's what I was worried about, was my cardio. Nate Smith trains at Team Elevation in Colorado, which was actually at a higher altitude than what we fought at in Las Vegas. So for me to go out there and put on the pace and then gas him out, and I live at sea level here in Oklahoma, and the training mask right there, that Bosch Rutan 2.0 training mask, has made the difference for me. And I really think that's it, because I added that into my career going into the LFA fight to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Yeah. And ever since, I feel like my cardio has been amazing. I run sprints with it. I run with it. I hit bag work with it. And it's made the difference. And I love jiu-jitsu. I love wrestling. And I feel like I'm the biggest, strongest 125er in the game. And when I get a hold of these guys, they feel it, and it makes a difference.
Man, I am so glad that I asked that extra little question at the end. That is honestly one of the coolest little insights. And I mean, I really hope people listen to the end of this interview, because that is a nugget of wisdom that if you're an amateur, if you're a pro, whoever you are, if you're listening, Jimmy Flick just gave you a monster little like peek at something that has made a huge difference in his, entire career. And then there's just being Jimmy Flick that you can't quite replicate, but you can try with some equipment. Dave does have one more question, and then I'll let you go, because you've given me more than enough of your time. I really appreciate you taking time at the end of your day here. How important was it for your career to fight on UFC Fight Pass?
That was super, man. It was super important, and it helped out a lot. To be able to go and learn how to advertise yourself, to be on that format, to let sponsors know, like, UFC Fight Pass has over 450,000 subscribers worldwide, and you can be watched multiple times. You don't just watch it one time. It can go back. You can replay it, and it's an awesome platform for fighters to advertise, to get their business out there, to get their name out there, and to get other businesses out there. And that's what I used it for. And now actually I do a lot of work for UFC Fight Pass, and I actually just booked another gig where I'll be doing a video for UFC Fight Pass for LFA 100, because the LFA 100 is a 125 title fight.
Yes, sir.
And, so it's been amazing. It's helped my career out a lot, and it's also still helping my career, as UFC Fight Pass still hits me up to do videos, and Now look, he just said it's up to 800,000.
Yeah, Dave dropping that knowledge. Dave's runs Fight Pass or Fight Bananas here. At some point, you got to talk with Dave as well, man. Dave's a great guy. You guys will kill it. Man, this has been great. I also do LFA breakdowns as well. I break down every LFA card, so I'm going to be so. If you ever want to join me for LFA, you're always welcome to join me breakdowns aside. So we'll definitely be talking, and we're gonna do one of these cards soon. These last couple questions were some of my favorite answers. So, like typical Jimmy Brick, Flick, he just keeps it going all the way through to the end. Even with the interviews, he keeps that energy. Some of these interviews, they kind of gas out after the first couple minutes. They're like, oh man, like got all my social energy. He keeps it going through the interview. You were talking about businesses. Are there any businesses, any sponsorships, anything you would like to plug, my friend, before I let you go?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to all my sponsors for the support. I'll be booking up a lot more sponsors. I give them all sponsors, shout outs before fights, during fights, after fights, interviews, all that. If you haven't followed my fan page at Jimmy the Brick Flick and my Instagram, The Brick MMA, and I'm on Twitter at Jimmy Flick. Give me a follow. We'll be dropping that fight news soon, hopefully, and we'll be back in the octagon soon.
Yes, sir. Jimmy, I just want you to have a great rest of your night, man. I look forward to seeing you back in there soon, killing some time ahead of time. We'll see you on a breakdown here soon. We'll be talking about it. But have a great night, and we look forward to hearing the news soon. And Fight Bananas, we're always in your corner, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate
have a great one. Have a great night. And everybody, that is all for the Fight Bananas special interview here on Tuesday night. Thank you for joining me and Jimmy the Brick Flick. We will be back on Thursday night with Mike Beast Boy Davis for the breakdown of UFC 258. Until then, stay safe and take care of each other out there.